Yes, the broadcast has started. Thanks again, guys, for checking out another edition of Break the Base on this channel. It's me, Narik Chase, and my boy Ken Phillips. We are on the scene, and we are ready to get down to business. Now, before we do talk about this miniseries Ascension, which I will let Ken elaborate on, I do want to apologize for not having a podcast last week because that was on me. Working too much. Working two jobs sucks. Well,
yes,
it sucks.
Yes, it does.
It sucks when you don't have the time, but when the paycheck come in, it's different.
You like the paychecks, because I do.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Ken, I will let you take it away.
All right, crew, here we go. Let's think about this. Let's go back into the Wayback Machine. This is a miniseries that was on Sci-Fi. It's called Ascension. Highly recommended. Very good series. It's a series of 6 episodes, each about 45 minutes or so, which is your typical run. Now let's think. In science fiction, you may have heard this term, generational ship. What does that mean, Ken? You're talking sci-fi to me. It doesn't make any sense. A generation ship is like a ship that basically the people who start on it will be on that ship so long they will actually live and die before they ever make it to where they're going. But their children and their grandchildren will carry on. So that brings us to what Ascension is about. Back in the 1960s, we had the space program, early space program in the United States. And this is kind of an offshoot of an actual thing that was called Project Orion under President Kennedy, who was kind of using this thought process of making, the Cold War was going on, the Russians got nukes, everybody hates everybody. And they were thinking about taking a ship, putting X amount of people on the ship and sending it to a supposedly habitable planet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we come to Ascension. USS Ascension is that ship in kind of a off-spur timeline. The journey that they're going to take is 100 years. So 100 years from 1960, they literally built the ship, put all these people on it. There were 600 people, 600 volunteers. And they have sent them off to, what was a place called? Proxima Centauri, which is approximately 100 of our years traveling in space with the ability of what we had then.
Yeah.
So now you see the idea. Now our story kind of comes into about 51 years into this journey. Now, if you can imagine 600 people on board a ship that's huge, massive ship that has to sustain water, food, oxygen, technology, fabrication, everything, and basically like aircraft carrier and some, to take these people to their destination and be able to set up a new colony of humans 100 years away from us. So think of this. I mean, what caught me really about this series was that it's the 1960s. Everybody on this ship is still in the 1960s. Everything that's happened from them is 1960s. They know nothing else but what happened in the United States in 1960. So it is a whole world governed amongst itself on a ship on a 100-year journey. And that is where we come into our story. 51 years into the mission. Some of the groups have already, come and gone. They've had accidents and tragedies and all kind of things, but no one has ever been killed. No murders have happened in 51 years until now. And that's where we enter our story. So what were your thoughts? I told you to watch Ascension because it was a really cool series.
Yes.
What did you think of it?
I got to give it to you on that one. Ascension is one of those series that you feel like there's got to be more to it. There's got to be another, more to it. It got me with the cliffhanger because I'm like, this can't be it. This cannot be it. And honestly, I really like the series. One of the reasons that I do think that the series was really good is the storytelling, because they're playing it, and this, there's gonna be spoilers in here all throughout this.
If you don't want to hear it, tune out now.
But Ascension has basically two storylines paralleling each other, and they do it in a pretty good way, in a very interesting and well executed way. There's what's happening on the ship. There's what's happening on Earth, quote unquote Earth, quote unquote the ship. And it kind of got me at first because I was a bit confused. I was
didn't see it coming, did you?
I didn't. I didn't
either. And I like movies like this. And I didn't see it coming
because I'm like, where is this going? I'm like, this is happening here. The way that it was actually presented was like, okay, these people is on the ship, and then 50 years later, you're seeing what's happening on Earth.
That's what I thought.
I would give it to them. They did it pretty good with that one. But then the twist ends up coming up where the ship actually hasn't left Earth. And so that was a really good twist. The story was, I would give it to them. The story was well written. I liked it. As well as the characters. I thought the characters were awesome.
Yeah, of course, a lot of sci-fi veterans in here.
Mm-hmm.
Tricia Helfer from Battlestar Galactica.
She was one of my favorite characters. I really did like her.
Yeah, she was playing a very interesting character in there. I was trying to think, the security guy. What's his name? Ryan Robbins, the safety guy. He's been in like all kind of series on sci-fi. Some old, some new.
Yeah.
But what I liked is that most of the cast in this movie were unknown. So you have a fresh perspective. I mean, aside from at least two that I recognize right off the bat, and some other ones might be in some other series. But for the most part, these are newcomers. These are people you've never seen before in a series, or maybe in the background of regular series. They're not the focal point or the stars, which is good. It's a fresh face, a fresh story, a fresh group of people, and it worked very well. And how everything through politics, through what you see on Earth, just mimicked itself in space.
Yes.
Except they had much more control. I mean, they had a large demographic of people, different races, groups, religions, and all on this ship, and they were all getting along pretty well. Of course, they still had kind of what I would consider a class system.
Yes.
In there.
I thought that was good too.
And even if you take a group of people who have never met each other, or even kids, I think they've actually done it, and I can't remember the name of the experiment, but basically they took a group of kids and raised them from ground zero.
Yes.
They gave them no external anything other than just them. And over time, through like 18 or 20 years of watching them isolated, they still ended up as some form or fashion making a hierarchy. Who's the big boss?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody stood out. Somebody was the worker. Somebody was the leader. All these different things came out. And you see that in the series, although, again, not so much worried about racial issues, not so much worried about religious issues. Their biggest thing was survivability. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something to do. And that's what they were worried about. And that was very interesting of how they kind of put all those people together. And, of course, we have to throw in they actually never left. They never left the planet. Dun, dun, dun. You have to imagine they have had to keep this thing secret for well over 51 years. That this ship, the Ascension, and this thing it's not a scale model, people. It is the full-fledged, what they would have launched back in 1960. And this thing has been kept underground. All these people have kept their lip quiet for 51 years. That is incredibly awesome in the series, and kind of where we come into play. What was it all about? What was it? I can't remember what they call it when in the show, when kids typically hit puberty, 12, 13 years old, they realize.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. They hit that panic.
It's kind of like a panic, realizing that they will never, ever, ever see Earth. Mm-hmm. They will always, always be on this ship, and there will be nothing they will do but ever live and die on this thing. And it hits them like a rock. And then they're like freaking out. But what I thought was also interesting, I mean, of course, we have two different storylines, as you said. We have what's happening on the Ascension and all the drama and everything that's happening upon it. We have sexualized videotapes, but remember, everything we're dealing with on that ship is 1960s technology.
Yep.
But over time, over the 51 years they've been there, they've actually developed other technologies as they were going. And that information was being piped back to Earth normal that was using that stuff to make new technologies, or supposedly make new technologies. So that was very interesting, how the human mind and engineering and feat try to make things better that they were doing on the ship, which was very interesting.
I thought that was really really interesting way about doing it, and it kind of makes you want to ask a certain question, like,
did they really do it?
Like, if you think about it, okay, it's like these people kind of subjected. I mean, as much as these people were heroes, were quote unquote heroes, because this situation, as to how they got on that ship and the reason why, wasn't necessarily, because they volunteered. Some of them.
Yes, we find out there were some non-volunteers as well.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, these people sacrificed themselves, regardless of how they did it of their own free will or not. But they did make a point in the series to address that. Even though the people might have set off for one good thing for humanity, they did condemn their children. They did condemn their bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
So I like how they did address that, and and I think that's another thing about acceptance. And it's like, at what kind of it's kind of like, humans are dicks, and we would do that to both further our own agenda as well as for the greater good, quote unquote. Just like what's the guy's name? Harris. I liked Harris. I mean, he was a douchebag, but he had that vision.
Yeah, he was. He was the guy. His dad started the project.
Yeah.
Actually, way back in the 1950s. But their actual goal wasn't even so much the betterment of human in space. Well, yeah, I guess it was. But one of the characters in here, the little girl.
Yes.
What was her name? I'm so sad. I'm looking right at everything, and there's so much information here and all. But basically, they were trying the whole goal of the thing was actually to develop gifted, or what we would consider mutant.
Krista.
Yeah.
Krista was
to develop a superhuman, to force evolution. Right now, evolution on our scale is like 9 billion people. 0.00000 something percent might evolve to that 0.1% evolution. What they were trying to do is force evolution through a smaller containment to create a superhuman. I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. Everything that happened, that was it. They were trying to develop a superhuman.
It was really convoluted how they did it. It was like, okay.
I know. I mean, they were basically doing it through forced evolution.
I like how they kept on revealing it. It's like, okay, first we're doing this to test out people in space. Then we're going to test out people's breaking points. Then we're going to test out this.
Yeah, and through
finally,
boom.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's what all of this is for.
Because the little girl kept seeing and saying things and noticing things throughout the series that you're like, how is she doing that? What is the deal?
And it kind of feeds into the whole part where I was confused at the beginning, because she makes it seem like that their aliens are actually watching them. But then,
then
like we said earlier, it converges, and it's like, okay, the people are watching them, and she has a conscious reasoning to know that they're watching them, even though the other people don't believe her.
Yep. And how they interact with the ship to do things that they need to do is basically they use like radiation storms, and they kind of put the whole group of people to sleep. That they can freely enter and exit the facility or the Ascension without really giving up anything.
Yeah, that's the whole idea behind Ascension and how the people were interacting with it. Freaking brilliant! It was brilliant. Yeah, like if I was on that ship, you would like if we were on that ship, we would believe we was on the ship.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing else. I mean, that's the only truth that you know. They don't go spacewalking. I mean, they have the big portal up in the bridge, which is a projection system, basically a very high-end projection system that has to change as they move along. But I mean, literally, the whole ship, aside, occasionally they have to move it every now and then or make something happen, is all self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no outside interference from the real world to kind of keep it as pure as possible. And I think, if I remember right, at the very beginning of the show, they talked about a very massive fire that killed a lot of people. What was that, deck 23 or deck 32, something like that? And that kind of comes into a play where we have, the inside guy, as we call him, who's in there doing the dirty work, who is aware of everything, but he's trying to do, get this research and mission stuff done and trying to get everything, keep everything in check and trying to give the girl the injection to set her off.
He's surprised. Like, when they did the big reveal of who it was, that was surprising.
And you're like, what?
But let's go ahead and break it down. We talked. What do you think about the story? We dabbled on it, but what are you like? Your thoughts on the actual story, or what is like your favorite subplots that was going on in there?
Well, I mean, you kind of get lured into. I mean, when you first start the show, you see you realize that something's going on. You're back in the 1960s, is all that you're knowing, and you see this really good-looking girl go swimming. Next thing you know, she ends up dead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right off the bat, something happens tragically, and you're like, I wonder what this is about. And that's what starts this whole situation off.
Yep.
Or Laura Lee, and she is somebody who suspected something's been going on. I mean, there are some people who think things have been going on. They're kind of like the small, tiny underground, but they just don't know what it is. They just know something's not right. And she was one of them people who was so close, and they could not have her squealing.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets knocked off. But the problem of knocking her off causes everything else, a chain reaction. What's going on? Why was she killed? They start digging, and they're realizing that, there's like a big gaping hole around here. There's all kind of stuff going on. What's happening? Why are there missing tapes? Why, because everything in them is a tape. It's almost kind of like a little mini floppy, and because they've evolved the actual tape to tape, like reel to reel that we used to have. Yeah. It's kind of more like a little hockey puck looking thing. Because they've had to evolve over time, and they've made it. But everything, they kind of building, and people are going. People start now asking questions. What is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have your politicking and everything else going on too. I mean, that's just on the ship, though. But then you have.
I did like the politics, like how the captain, what's his name? I'm trying to.
Captain. What was our captain's name? You think we'd have all this stuff written down, people, but it's great to be impromptu.
Yeah. Like you have Captain William, yeah, that's his name. How William
Denninger.
Yeah, how he was trying to maintain being the captain while all of these, these various parties are trying to usurp him.
Yeah, basically.
And how him and his wife are just, what I'm saying? You think it's one thing that's going on, but it's also, it turns over into something else. Because what happened with her reveal, because I actually thought that she was actually against her husband.
No, she wants to stay in power. She's just using her ways and her little stewardesses to keep that power.
Mm-hmm.
We have these little stewardesses that are kind of like, I don't know what you would call them to be tasteful. Basically kind of like incentive, I guess. They're like little cheerleaders.
Man, to me, they're like hightail prostitutes. You just don't pay for them.
Well, basically, that's what they were. They were. You want to get up in the goodness, and you want to be on the top notch, and you want to be in the upper echelon in that more higher ranking group of people. Well, this is how you do it.
Yep.
That's how they were. They basically, when they reached a certain age, they were auditioned to be one of the stewardesses, and they got better clothes, better rations. They had to perform some services and things like that, but that's what they did. It's very trippy and kind of, you have all this stuff that you have on Earth, but again, you were talking 1950, so a lot of this was very low key. it wasn't very out in the open and stuff. So a lot of this stuff happens behind the scenes, and we get to see what's going on behind the scenes and find out what's going on. We find out a lot of different things. We find out that, there's some conspiracy theorists on Earth, in our ground time where they've had, I can't remember how big that warehouse was they had of just all the stuff that had been supposedly jettisoned from the Ascension, archived, it was like huge, trying to find everything that had gone on. Everybody who had ever been on that ship had a container, and everything about their life from the time they boarded that ship and even before that was all stored in that warehouse. So anybody and everything, they could find out anything they wanted.
Yeah.
Even as their teams come through and do samples and stuff like that, they had a personal record that was 50 years or plus. So it's very crazy, and how they had to keep it such secret. That was the thing for me. The guy who was snooping around trying to find out what's going on. How they baited him out. That was good. You have to imagine somebody who's kept a secret for 51 years has a lot of resources out there.
A lot.
And these guys, I mean, you don't even see it coming. It's like, holy crap. I used the word honeypot as a term basically, and they dragged this dude out and they bagged him, and I'm sure they're doing it all over the world. People trying to find out about this Ascension program, and the U.S. basically trying to keep their upper edge on technology and finding out what's going to happen.
And it goes to show you that the government, certain parties within the government can be dicks.
Oh, they definitely can. But it's just such an intertwining. I mean, we have so many. We do have two main storylines, really. What's going on Ascension in their world? What's going on Earth in their world? Earth trying to maintain the secret, make the superhuman, keep everything quiet, use the research that they gathered, and then Ascension's got its own little political thing going on. The mystery of how this girl died, everything, because the guy can't just like walk out the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he could just step out the door and go, "Okay, catch you later, guys." This guy's in there for the long run.
Yep.
He's going to have to be in this ship forever. He'll live, breathe, and die in this ship because he's the inside guy.
Yep.
It's not like somebody can just magically show up next week. Oh, by the way, I caught up with you. I just came aboard. Not happening, man. This ain't Star Trek. Come on.
I want to ask you, okay, it's got a pretty good roster of characters. Who's your favorite characters?
I did like Hefner's character and how she was working things. I liked the first mate. Not Derringer.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Executive Officer Aaron Galt.
Yeah. I like him too.
He was interesting because he was kind of in the middle of everything. I liked Harris as a kind of a good guy, bad guy, because you didn't really know what to think of this guy. His intentions are there, but his methods are questionable.
Yep.
The first officer, not first officer, the security investigative officer guy.
You talking about darn it! You talking about Duke?
It was his daughter that got killed.
Yeah. What is it? Was that Duke?
I think Duke, it was his daughter. Oh, wait, Juliet's daughter. That's Vanderhouse.
Yeah,
that's the older sister. No, the first mate in Vanderhouse is.
Okay. I see what
they were hanging out together in there.
Yeah.
But God, what is that dude's name? I was just talking about him a minute ago too, and it's like completely. Safety Officer Duke Vanderhouse. Yeah, her husband. I was like confused there for a moment. But yeah, I kind of liked him because he was, he has no clue, no idea. He's kind of like a mid-range guy, and he's having to put all this stuff together and figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of supporting characters, but I think out of the bunch, we have two of the highliners, of course, but Harrison being our main bad guy and trying to, get everything set and covered up and researched. But I really liked how all the characters, there was really no one truly sticking out above everybody, but each played their important role because you had those two separate storylines going on. So you have really two different cast of characters, even though they're intertwined. You have what's going on in Ascension and have what's going on Earth, and everything that's going on right there, which I think was very, very cool how they did the writing and the blending of those storylines, even though they simultaneously are happening. What I would like to have seen added to that, though, is let's go back prior to this time frame that we jumped into. Let's go back to like year 31 where they had this massive fire or something that was going on. Let's see what happened. What's going on? Let's see what both sides of the coins look back in that was 31. So 1990s. What happened in 1990?
Do you think they deliberately blew that up?
Well, that's the question. They never really answered that in the story. Okay. They used the area of what happened, the fire and everything that happened, but they never really went back and identified why it happened or for what reason. I think that could have been just a story plot for maybe later.
Yeah.
It could have been, I really wish, I would like to see this come as a TV series, a regular weekly series. Because there's so much going on. I mean, just those 6 episodes was I was glued. I was watching this stuff. I mean, as soon as I first saw the first commercial for it, I was like, this looks very interesting. And it caught my eye, and I'm like, let's see what happens. And then by the time we're done at the end, you're like, that's it?
Yeah, that's how I was.
What the hell? Why did you? And I think it was intentional. I would like to see them come back. Even if Netflix or somebody, Sci-Fi would be great to pick it back up. But maybe Netflix could pick it up. I mean, I would really like to see more storyline, more development, what happens in both worlds on this. Because, I mean, they got a good cast. They got a good story. They have they've already got most of the work already done. I mean, at least the CGI stuff is already pretty much done. Yep. So why not go into it more in depth? Bring us into the story more. Give us more conspiracy information. Let us learn. We know what the kid's capable of now. So now that she's, the girl has basically shown her ability to, I guess kind of the goal was to move matter. You ever seen Dune?
You talking about the movie?
Yes.
The one with The Rock in it, right?
No. The other one. The one with Jean-Luc Picard in it, the 1990 version.
No, I didn't see it.
No. In Dune, the series, or Dune the movie, they have the way they move in space is moving without movement. That the people basically use their minds basically to fold space. That's what that girl was doing. Where she sent, what's his name, Galt?
Yeah, she sent Galt to wherever the hell he at.
Yeah, she sent him somewhere. Probably to where he was supposed to be going in the first place. Just accelerated his ship by 49 years.
Yeah.
But I would like to see how they explore her and her abilities now that they've been drawn out.
I would love for them to do a little bit explanation too. Like, did she somewhat mentally bond with space or something? I don't know.
Good question. They never really. They just said they wanted to make a superhuman, but they never exactly say what, because we see some of her ability. I mean, she's been able to see things outside of the sphere, basically outside of the Ascension, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I can't remember all the other examples that she had seen, but I mean, she didn't know what they were called. She just seen wars in the desert and all these different things is what she talked about. So she had perception beyond her environment. She was able to identify when, when they were looking at her to get her injection, they were trying to give it to her in her milk. And she looked at the camera and dumped out her milk.
That was a really good moment.
When she was partially awake during the guy coming in taking the necklace. There was a couple other examples, but she had perception beyond perception and the ability to generate power, because she did a power strike on it, and it caused the whole Ascension to go into chaos. But while the Ascension's in chaos, guess what's happening in the real world? They're going through chaos too, because whatever she did zorked everything. So they're dealing with all this crisis and all these things going out. The reality might break, that they have this several 1,000-foot long ship sitting there, and it's going out of control. These people might die because of a simple mistake or simple thing. What's going on? And you see everything coming together again.
I gotta say this. Next to the sequence with the girl looking into the camera and pouring the milk out, I think that was one of the most standout moments.
Oh yeah, it was dead on. She Zork looked at him and then dumped the milk, knowingly they're going to do something.
I think another moment is when Aaron was investigating that one area, and everybody on the outside had to be quiet.
Oh yeah, because he tapped it. And he's like, "What?"
Yeah, the dude
doesn't sound right.
Yeah, the dude accidentally knocked over something, and then the dude inside the ship heard it. And you got Aaron on one side, touching the wall, and then you have Harris on the other
guy's
side
touching the wall.
Yeah, so that was a really good moment.
The sound doesn't travel in space. That was the giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? I remember that scene very vividly. Which was like, what the heck? Man, did they just ruin everything? And of course, we know the one guy who gets thrown out, they blamed for the murder in the first place, who had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
The crazy dude, they threw out they airlocked him.
And
that's when you find out that it's not a when he get airlocked, you realize it's not real space.
Yeah. I think that's when
the reveal came in. That was a good reveal because you're like, and then you're like, oh, no freaking way.
He falls on little mats and they take him over. I'm like, okay, that was clever.
Yeah, they snatched his ass so fast he didn't know what to hit him.
What did you think about what was that one lady? The one that was investigating Harris? And then she went on to be like, I'm gonna expose them.
Yeah, I'm going to ruin you, have your day. And she was trying to... Actually, I think she was trying to take over the project.
No, not that one. The other one.
Oh,
the blonde-haired chick.
Yeah, I was trying to find her name real quick. Samantha Kruger. Investigator on Earth.
Yeah.
And the other lady was director Catherine Warren.
Yeah.
That's who I was talking about. Yeah, it's all true, but I'm gonna have to kill you now.
I did like both of them. I did like both of them. I did like Samantha more because she was like, okay, I'm going to be like a good guy about this. Now, what happened to her was messed up. Yeah,
they had a whole kind of mess going on. I mean, but a lot of that, you don't see it coming. You're like,
what? And it happened so fast. I'm like, what? Hold on a minute. What?
Let me hit rewind. What did I just freaking miss?
I'm like looking at it like, did that just happen? And
that's what I like about it.
I'm going ahead and spoil it. The chick that was with her shot the lady in the face, or more specifically in the eye. And she did it so quick.
There was no hesitation, man. It was like instant.
Yeah.
Done. Done.
Flip pow. And then I like I like the sequence because she grabbed the gun, shot the lady like within a second. The lady hadn't had I guess her body hadn't fully registered what happened. The lady caught her and was like, I don't know if she apologized. I don't think she apologized. She just said something to her and then she like walked away and then the body fell.
Yep. Out the door and down.
I was like that was a good one. But I like what Harris did to that other lady.
Oops. My bad.
But all in all, Ascension is a really good miniseries, and somebody definitely need to pick it up because it does have a really good story, and it has it does have good characters too.
Yeah, everybody was good. I mean, there was no maximum above all. I mean, they all had a very key piece of the story. You know, as you're solving the mystery on the Ascension, what's going on, it's also tied in with what's going in the real world, and the real world's trying to unsolve the of the Ascension and this program. I mean, it's just all intertwined and so skillfully done. It's not like watching Memento where you watch something backwards and then you get the whole story. This one is a very long pre-story that we don't really even get to know. We just know that, what happened. And then that they were now on year 51 of a 100-year program to develop. And they really didn't tell you what they were trying to gain until, episode 3.5? Before you actually even realize what they're trying to do. What was the whole point of Ascension? Originally, you think it was just to see what happened. What would happen on a generational ship? How would it happen? How would it react? Do they develop new technologies? What all do they do? And then,
it was pretty good how they did it too. It was really good, like all the aspects that they had to address. Like again, we was talking about how they had to address with the panic of being on this ship, never being able to explore more than where you at, and know new people and new experiences. Like that aspect, like the psychological aspect of it, as well as adapting, such as creating new technology and stuff on that ship for survival.
Yeah, they had to engineer everything. They literally were just, the only thing that they were given is what they started with in 1960. That's it. That's all they were given. When you have a fixed thing, they had to do, we saw down in the guts of the ship where they had fabrication. We saw where they had agriculture going on, where they had permaculture going on. They had the farms, the pigs, cows, beef. They had all this stuff going on, and it all had to be sustainable, not only as a food source, but also sustainable when they landed where they were at. So even the animals were generational.
Mm-hmm. Everything played a role.
And even I remember they what was it? I was trying to remember the name of the holiday. They called it Ostra. The ship celebrates Ostra, basically, because they have to keep the population of the ship at 600, no more, and really no less.
Yeah. Oh, Ostera. That's what it is.
Ostera. Yeah, Ostera. So they have to keep all these people at that limit. They can't go any more than that because they won't make it sustainable anymore. And so every so often, people get chosen to allow to have kids. So, another side mystery too. Do you remember that? Like the captain had an unclaimed kid, basically.
Yeah, I remember that. No, it wasn't the captain. They made it seem like it was the captain. It's one of those councilman guys.
Yeah, they had what they called an unclaimed, or a child born out of wedlock.
Yeah. Because when I was watching, I was like, okay, the captain got an unclaimed child. But what he did was he took care of the councilman's child just in case, you know what I'm saying? He needed him. He kind of used him as a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out really good how he did it.
Yeah, it was all kind of crazy stuff going on. There's so much really that the show brought. What was very fresh. Granted, yes, the topics are timeless. They've been going on for as long as the earth has spun, but not in this particular setup and not in this particular situation. Mm-hmm. And so it makes a fresh perspective to think about this. And I've seen other TV series where they talk about generational ships and they just kind of, throw it out there. But this one really approached feasibility. What would it have been? When would it have been? And then to go back and have to do all the research and put everything together for a 1960s. Everybody was all patriotic and flag loving, no hating. It was great. It was so great just to see that moment. Basically that group of people was trapped in a period of time in 1960 when President Kennedy was still alive and everything was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they know nothing else. They will never hear vulgar TV shows. They will never hear whatever was thing. The biggest thing they had was all the little sex scandals going on, and that was already going on anyway.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the extent of their impropriety of the whole group. That's it.
Yep.
They'll never hear any of this bad movies, nothing. And they will never ever do it. And until they get to wherever they were going. So and then remember the guy almost freaking exploded. The guy they threw off.
Yeah.
The airlock. When he realized, he freaking had a meltdown.
He went crazy. I felt sorry
job crazy.
I felt so sorry for Samantha's character because every time she went around this dude, he was beating her.
Oh yeah.
First time he met her, he headbutted her. The second time, he punched her in the face. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's just like, what the heck? And I couldn't even imagine. I mean, if I put myself in their shoes and, everything that I know is a lie. Everything that you have ever been taught is a lie. Your grandparents, parents, and you have been on nothing but more than a giant research project for 51 years. How would that just make your mind just boom? Could you process that?
That's something that will make you crazy.
I mean, do you imagine though the world that guy? I mean, the world that hit him would have been like a garbage truck stacked on a cement truck with the Empire State Building right behind him.
Exactly.
And the guy who played him, he really took it to a notch. I mean, he was out there. I think he could have even been a little bit better, but I mean, I think he did a phenomenal job of being an individual in that place who's perceived that he just freaking goes ape. What the heck is going on? It's just mind-blowing. And it gives you all the repercussions. It makes you want to think, What was the other one that had, there was another show like that. Jim Carrey was in it. Where his world was basically from birth, the Truman Show.
Truman Show. Where it was like
birth,
his whole life was already orchestrated for him.
Yeah, everything was a freaking lie. All the people he ever met were actors. All his world was basically I don't remember how big of a facility it was, but his entire world was literally all made up. And I never finished watching the whole movie, but the same thing. But I mean, on a more epic scale, you have these people literally, like say, would be me. It would be like my dad came and went, my grandfather came and went, and we've been in a research project. You're really kidding me, aren't you? It's just so much to go on there. But
the dude that played Stokes, the guy that went crazy,
yeah,
his name is Brad Carter.
He's played in some other shows too.
And Brad Carter was really good. I will admit that too. He was a really good character.
Yeah, I think he did.
He went hard.
Yeah, like what the heck? I know he's played in a bunch of other stuff too, and he kind of plays a very kind of nut job character anyway in a lot of those. So, but overall, I mean, I would really like to see this as a regular series, either by Sci-Fi again or Netflix, brought into the real world, brought into the TV series world, and I would love to see experiment, or even getting it put together.
Yeah,
assembling Ascension and getting all all the conspiracy that goes behind putting it together and getting all these people on there would even be a great precursor to this series. And bring all the people back. Well, I mean, you won't be able to because I'd be like, they would have been like teenagers at the time this happened. But
yeah,
on from now and up.
Would you
flashbacks?
Do you think they should bring back the same? If they can't bring back the same characters, you think they should recast or redo it?
Ooh, man, see, this would be a bummer for me. I would really like to see a lot of those original cast people come back. I mean, they had, granted, again, not all name characters, not name brand, everything. I would really hate to see the series rebumped, reimaged, because it was so good as it was without any changes. I mean, it was so good because there were so many twists and turns, so much plot integration, so much characters. I really would hate to see them mess it up that bad. It'd be like somebody trying to redo Star Wars to me. because that's such a unique of a story to me. That's what drew me into it.
Yeah.
If they do anything, if they have to recast people, then they're going to have to carry from like point either prior to or after. Just carry on.
Or or better yet, a possibility of them bringing back some of the original cast members, while even considering the age. And
yeah, that's very true.
I wouldn't want them to do this, but if you're going to bring back the same characters and consider that age, time jump.
I don't know if it would work so well in this story. You could time jump if they went into the future, and you could actually add new cast people. Because, let's say some of these people, we would guess probably in their 30s and 40s. You could jump to maybe they're either getting ready to die off, or, are they retired, I guess, and they're not in the same capacity as they were. And so you have the next generation taking over the ship and learning it, just like, well, do that. Yeah, they could transition. Like, I've been teaching you all this time. Now it's your turn to be the captain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go enjoy my margarita downstairs in the luau deck. They could do that. I really would hate to see the 6 episodes that they've done so far and try to rehash that into a recasted character set or recasted or reimaging completely. I would hate to lose that just raw, because to me it was that good. So I would only really accept either something flash forward or pre, because then you could replace the cast very easily. You could bring back the guy's dad and in Project Ascension and all the conspiracy and build up, and they talked about all these kids were being disappeared and stuff. You could bring that into a whole series itself, or jump forward after the girl has matured her ability and see where they went with it.
Yeah. See, but yeah, this is one of those. This is definitely one of those series where you like. It reminds me of Firefly. Firefly was a good series.
Love Firefly.
And then they end up canceling. Like, could you see this potentially ending? So if they don't pick it up as a series, finish it off as a movie, could you potentially see that?
Yes, I would accept a movie. I would accept, or another, 3-part miniseries, and consider it a movie, because that's basically about the same time frame anyway. But you can squeeze more into it. Either or. I think I could live with a solution to it if they did it right.
Okay.
But, it kind of bummed me with Firefly. Although they did bring the movie, they still... it could, Firefly still has potential. Fox, if you're listening. Sci-Fi, Netflix, if you're listening. I know the cast is all about trying to... I did see a rumor that they were talking about trying to bring back another movie again, or another Carry On.
I wouldn't mind. They had a book that picks up a story. I've seen it at Barnes & Nobles, and it picks up after what happens in the movie.
Really?
And I was like, darn it. I wish I had bought it and read it, so I know, okay, what are the characters doing now?
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, I always see him in shows and stuff, and there's always, jokes and things with him in there. The brown coat shows up somewhere, or, they always kind of, all the characters, show up somewhere. I think they even have a loot crate for Firefly, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah, okay.
I believe I remember seeing something about it. So there's always stuff out there. But, unfortunately, my friends, we're about at that time.
Yeah, it's about that time.
It's about that time, but
so I'm
closing thoughts.
So
come on, give me some closing thoughts.
I said I do like Ascension, and I was really surprised at how well the series, the miniseries, actually was. And I greatly, you know what, I appreciate that, man. I was like, thank you. I don't do that much. If somebody recommends me a series, sometimes they're like, I watch it, I'm like, okay, it's all right. This is one of them, like, I was captivated. When I had time to do it when I wasn't working.
Yeah. And that was me. I watched the first I watched the first hour of the first 2 hour of the series. And after that, because I was bouncing around and doing all the dad stuff and all that junk, you don't get a lot of time. So I binge watched it on like a Saturday night, and I was like, "What?
It's so edgy.
How dare you do that?"
It was gripping, edgy seat, and it had so many great characters.
Great characters, great stories, and like I say, a movie, a pre-series, a post-series, anything would be great to carry it on. And I was reading that they were talking about doing something. I think I even saw interest from Netflix on an article I read a little while ago before coming home, and it was talking about potentially doing a Netflix-based series. And it may just be kind of like, not necessarily even covering our known story, but it'd be like parts throughout, I was trying to think of how I would visualize it, but kind of like a day in the life, day one, action of the week thing.
Yeah.
They might do something like that, but it was still kind of up in the air. But, I when I'm around people and I get to learn them and know them, and I have a very good thing of movies, and then sometimes it may even be shows, articles, or something. I remember that in the back of my head. And when something sticks out like that, and I was pretty sure you would like Ascension. The stuff we've been doing for the last several months now, if he stuck in my head, I said, you know what, he'll probably like it. If he doesn't, he'll say, well, you know what, why'd you recommend that crap? But I was pretty darn sure that you wouldn't think it's crap, because I think he was right along the lines of what you like. Very different storyline, very compelling storyline, good character build, good stories, and that's why I said something about it. And it was just weird that it even came to my mind that night when we were out there talking, that Ascension even stuck in my head, because I hadn't really seen it again. And I was going through my DVR the other day, not my DVR, sorry, my online storage, and I saw Ascension in there, and I was like, man, it was such a good series. Yeah. And it just carried right on to give us something to talk about, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I try to make sure that I can throw it out there, because I know, just like you, like some people will go and see a movie and like, man, that's the best thing since sliced bread, and I go and see it and I'm like, man, that was just pure trash. How could you even think that? What were you thinking? So I take recommendations.
I'm glad I couldn't walk away and say that. I can't even sit here and say that. I couldn't even lie and say it. I really enjoyed that series.
It was such a good series. But folks, that's going to be it for this week. What do you want to do next week?
Tartar sauce. You know what? I didn't even think about that. Let me. I'm trying to think. Oh man. Let me think.
Offline. Maybe we'll debate it offline when I see you on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, we'll just talk about it Sunday.
We'll throw some stuff. You know what we should do is just write ideas and like put it in like a little virtual hat.
Yeah.
And just kind of reach in there and spin around and pull something out.
Normally I'd be able to do that, but I just not right now for some reason. That's weird.
I've been talking to Ascension. I'm so mindset on Ascension right now and thinking of the future series and what they could do with it, that I've just, mind blocked. I was like, man, just nothing's really jumped out lately and stuck in my head of something that would be, worthy to talk about. But I'm sure, after a while, I'll be like, oh yeah.
I know I'll be the same way too.
Yeah, we got busy brains. That's our problem. We have so busy brains and so busy lifestyles that sometimes it's hard to slow down and just enjoy the flowers every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
We're always so rush.
But
die old age. But don't forget, folks, to like and subscribe. Definitely put it on our page there. Narik Chase, come on in. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll try to get some more guests lined up and torture them so they will talk instead of trying to get rid of us for Tanks Battles RS.
Oh, yes. I'm going to make fun of him about that.
Yeah, I can't believe him. I'd rather play Tanks than talk about cool stuff. What's your problem?
Now, lately, he has been playing Battlefield 1. I will give him that.
Okay, all right. I haven't seen it yet. One of the minions here will have it sometime soon, so I'll see what it looks like when I get a chance to.
All right, then, guys. Well, me and Ken here. We'll catch you guys later.
Same time, same place next week.
Yes, sir. Bam.